Hi there, my name is Tom Bull and my nap for Champions Day comes in the QE2 with Fallen Angel, a filly in tremendous form, and I think there are a certain amount of question marks about her biggest rivals. Field of Gold, we've not seen him since disappointing in the Sussex Stakes, and he's had a setback, and Rosallion just can't seem to win that Group 1 this year. So I'm going to go with Fallen Angel, who comes here in the form of her life. It's a quick turnaround from Newmarket, but she was so impressive in the Sun Chariot Stakes, and I think she'll be a hard nut to crack in that big mile contest on Champions Day. So a Fallen Angel in the QE2 for me.
On British Champions Day, well, there's loads of obvious ones that you go for as a nap, but I'm going to go for one each way in the sprint. I thought he was really unlucky in the Curragh on his last start behind Art Power. I think he's really developing over 6 furlongs in a wide open division. I'm going to go for King Coon each way in the sprint at a big price.
My name is Andrew Blair-White and my nap for British Champions Day is Estrange in the Champion Fillies and Mares Stakes for David O'Mara and Cheveley Park. I think she's got a fantastic chance in this race. 2 wins at Haydock earlier this year, including in the Leicester Piggott Stakes, where she was very, very impressive, and she was second in the Yorkshire Oaks behind Minnie Hawk last time out. That form looks very good now that Minnie Hawk finished second in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe last week, and Estrange was actually meant to run in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe before encountering a little bit of a setback just before that race. That means she comes to Ascot instead, and I'm hoping that she can get on top here and land her first Group 1 prize.
My tip for Champions Day is Wardar in the Fillies and Mares for Owen Burrows and Callum Rodriguez. She's a filly who's very lightly raced, one of only a handful of 3-year-olds that are set to take their chance in the Fillies race this year, and she's had a really progressive career to this point, winning 3 of her 5 career starts. I was impressed with her on her penultimate outing at Goodwood when she forged away over 1.25 miles, which was a minimum trip for her, and then she stepped up to Goodwood again over the 1.75 miles to win the Lily Langtree on her most recent outing. Again, I felt like she won with a little bit up her sleeve on that occasion. She's a progressive filly, she stays really well, and I think it's quite an open renewal this year.
My nap of the meeting for the QIPCO British Champions meeting at Ascot comes in the big race of the meeting, the Champion Stakes. And this race has been dubbed as a match between Ombudsman and Delacroix, but I'm taking them both to get beaten by Calandagan, trained by Francis-Henri Graffard, who's had a tremendous season, and this really will cap that off for him. Calandagan has got a superb Ascot record. He's run here 3 times, and he's won on a couple of occasions. I mean, second in this race last year. He won the King George this year. He's got some tremendous speed figures to his name. He's got a great turn of foot. There are pacemakers in for Delacroix and Ombudsman. That'll suit Calandagan. He can stalk and pounce and use his speed to really good effect to this time land the QIPCO British Champions Stakes.
My tip for a Champions Day will be Shout in the last race of Balmoral, handicap for Simon and Ed Crisford. Really impressive over course and distance last time out of a mark of 91, up to 100 now. But I think this horse can make his way into pattern company maybe next season. This 3-year-old was bolted up last time out, travelling very strongly out there. He's breaking better on terms, and Ocean Murphy a good jockey book. So Shout in the last of Balmoral handicap.
I'm going to tip Rosallion in the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes on QIPCO Champions Day at Ascot, a horse who famously or infamously has had absolutely no luck in 2025, particularly when he finished like a train for a short head defeat in the Prix du Moulin at Longshot last time. Crucially, the ground has come in his favour. There are doubts about favourite Field of Gold after the defeat at long odds on at Glorious Goodwood, and so I will stick with Rosallion. It's a heart and a head job. Queen Elizabeth II Stakes, Rosallion.
Outstanding action, albeit under different conditions than you often expect for Champions Day down at Ascot. My main pick of the afternoon will be Field of Gold in the QE2, looking to bounce back from that disappointing run in the Sussex at Goodwood, but perhaps with excuses. A strange race, first of all. Kirat out in front and dictating, and he was reportedly laying behind after the race. He's had over 2 months off since then, time to freshen up and bounce back to form. And if you look back at the body of his work through the season, then this is a horse going in the right direction. Impressive in the Craven, unlucky in the Guineas. He then won the Irish Guineas in decisive fashion before looking a real top-notcher on the round course here at Ascot in the St James's Palace before that defeat in the Sussex. But if he bounces back, this strong travelling horse should be well suited by this track. The lively conditions for the time of year will suit his potent turn of foot, and I think he is the class act in the field. You can pick holes in his form, there's no doubt about that, but to the eye he has been very impressive, and I think he will take out the QE2 on Saturday afternoon.
My bets for Ascot, well, the two at prices. I'm going to go to the Fillies and Mares and the QE2. Now, no doubt, Kalpan and Field of Gold, at their best, they should win. But they're not at their best, and it's Ascot at the tail end of the season. So I'm going for a couple at prices. One Look against Kalpana, ran a cracker out in France, again doing all its best work in the closing stages. So I think the step up to 1.5 miles is absolutely bang on. The pedigree backs it up as well, related to 1.5 mile horse. The dam's related to a chaser. So I think this horse screams a bit of improvement stepping up in distance. We're kind of in the premises anyway for an each-way play. My horse against the good ones in the QE2 is Never So Brave, who's approaching the top of his game. A really good run at York. I think he was held up that day and did well to dig out a win coming from the back of the field. He runs Ascot particularly well. I think the step back up to a mile will really suit him. And the third horse from that form line came out and won the 40 the other day out in France as well. So he screams an interesting play against the big guns. That's Never So Brave in the QE2 and One Luke in the Fillies and Mares.
My nap of the day on 2025 QIPCO British Champions Day is Rosallion in the mile. Anyone who's been listening to anything I've had to say about the miling division all through the year knows that I've been riding with Rosallion all the way through since his slightly disappointing run in the Lockinge on his comeback run. He's a horse I've been very fond of. I think he's a wonderful miler. I don't think things have gone his way, and it's not the horse's fault this season. Even Sean Levy's been happy to come out and say, I've got it wrong on at least a couple of occasions. Hoping with a bit of luck, I don't think there's anything in there that I'm worried about. Yes, Field of Gold's a very good miler, but I think Rosallion might have the best turn of foot in the race. And if things play into his hands, finally, he'll get that much-deserved victory.
My tip for Champions Day is Calandigan in the Champion Stakes. I think with Godolphin supplementing a pacemaker and Ballydoyle looking like they're going to have a strong setup, i.e. pace-wise, I think it's going to play to his strengths, dropping back to 10 furlongs. The good ground's going to be key, and he's a high-class horse who was awesome when winning the King George earlier in the year.
The likes of Sands of Marley, Don Juan Triumphant and Art Power have won the Champion Sprint at big prices, and it's fair to say that the division is wide open this year. I'm going to take a chance on Witness Stand at a big price. I was impressed with his win in the Lennox Stakes over 7 furlongs at Goodwood, where he showed plenty of pace early on. Second that day was Lake Forest, who went on to finish second in the City of York Stakes. On his next start, he chased home More Thunder in second. Third that day was Marvel Man, who's also been supplemented for the QE2 on the same card. He has to bounce back from a disappointment in France last time, but this drop to 6 furlongs at Ascot should suit, and I think he is overpriced.
My nap on QIPCO British Champions Day is, well, it's a tentative one to a degree, given the fact that it's a nap, but I wanted to go for one at a sort of sporting price. Now, I hope by the time we get to the 2:45, the Champion Filly and Mares race, Danielle will be just that. She's quite a price, a double-digit price at the time of talking. She's got form to prove, and she's got to mix it with some of the better fillies. Of that, you can have no doubt. But John and 30 Gosden, who've got a really strong hand on the day as a whole, have got a pretty good record in this race. I think 3 times since 2016 they've won it. She could just improve that little bit more through the autumn. She hasn't had as much racing as some of these, and I don't think she's been fully staying the mile and 6. Look at what she ran in last time. It was the Park Hill, which is, I think, pretty strong form, as France has proved subsequent to that. She went off favourite. She probably didn't quite get home, and maybe the case at Goodwood the time before. So I think that by the time you get to sort of autumn, a mile 4 around Ascot, and colours that have won this race before, it wouldn't surprise me if Danielle gives supporters and all connected a big run. So I'm going to take a chance that 2:45, she's running a big race.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.